better with the audio. But yes, I've got a new microphone. Doesn't need batteries. Brilliant, unless you don't plug it in. Heading back to the studio now, and it's 8 AM. It's raining. It's very British outside. I've just had a massive heat wave, and I'm shooting with KG Curates with Helen, and we've got some new furniture to do. I'm doing it from my studio this time instead of from hers. Hers is beautiful, but hers is too bright, even with 3200 watts of light. Couldn't do what I wanted. Now, thankfully it's dark today, so maybe I would be able to, but I think I'm going to crack out the hazy light, so... But first up, I need to get some petrol, and I need to get some snacks for the day, because I'm the host with the least right now. So, let's get rid of the rain and crack on. So about to activate voiceover mode here, because this was an actual test shoot, as in I was doing this for me, Scott Chathigno, not Tin House Studios. So although I did grab the camera and do a quick breakdown of each setup, which I'll go through, we will see that jumping back in again with some shaky cam action. This is actually what goes in a test shoot. Very small test shoot, just myself and a stylist. There was no digi, no assistants. It was just a very low-key test shoot, which is what afforded me to be able to do the extra things and set the cameras up. This would normally end up over on the Patreon. This is what we do once a month on the Patreon. One of my test shoots or something which I can't normally show on YouTube, I will share, because this is just such a small one. It wasn't really... It didn't warrant the Patreon fee of £5 a month, I thought. So it's up for YouTube for free. And yeah, this month for the Patreon, we are doing a bit of a behind the scenes look at the pre-production on an actual commercial job. So the full shebang, all the planning, all the prep, all of that good stuff. And you're going to watch me do it over on Patreon. So a slight change of plan this week. But yeah, this is just a quick overview of the day before we get into the actual shots. And that's Mr. Bumpy whizzing around. And the lovely sun coming through the windows. So Mr. Bumpy is my robot hoover, by the way, but there we go. So shot one on any day is always the most difficult. On a commercial job, we always expect to have shot one done by 11 AM or sometimes 1 PM if it's a real lighting nightmare. But obviously I've already pre-planned the lighting, and we're using a Broncolor hazy light, which is a 1x1 meter hard box, which puts out incredibly even, soft, diffused light. And it's got a 3200 watt pack in there, and we're firing it at 3200 watts, so full blast on this one. And we'd already selected the color palette for this. We already knew which colors were going in with it. It's all colors that are very much in trend at the moment, especially when it comes to like interior design. My camera is on the top of that black stand, which I'm on the very shaky blue ladders trying to get to. And for this shot here, we used a 50mm, which is rare for me. It's rare that I go out of the 90mm range, but 50 it was. And then that little trolley over there I'm on is a rock and roller cart, which is what I tether to. And we're tethering straight into Capture One. And just messing around at this stage, really. We're just sort of like getting a feel for things. This is why shot one always takes the longest, because you're trying to dial in the aesthetic. The lighting for everything else kind of stays the same on most days. It's rare that it's an entirely new lighting setup for every single shot. There tends to be a theme or aesthetic, even on a commercial job, where it's all like, this is what we're doing. So we've just done the first shot. We've got our main camera up here, and this is the 5DSR with a 50mm lens, and that whirring sound is the fan from the Broncolor Hazy, and that's putting out 3200 watts from here over to here at our tables, and in the background over there, that's a 1200 watt light just filling in some of the shadows. It's not really doing any rim lighting as such, it's very soft. It's just to fill in the shadows, and we're going to have to replace the background because the paper's gone a bit mottled, as it does in the damp. But there we go. So I'm going to get back up these dodgy ladders and sort this camera out. Just a quick pro tip: when you've got a charger, put arrows on here with some pen, and the same on the actual battery, and then you can see exactly where it needs to go without fumbling it. So what you're going to see in shot 2, I've got a bit of footage of me focusing the camera, and you'll be able to see how much the lens and camera ends up wiggling around, and the process of focusing the tilt and shift and swing and all the rest of it, getting everything perfect for perspective and for focus. That's something that's very important in my particular style of work, my workflow, but doesn't necessarily have to be important to yours. Like, just because I do it doesn't mean you need to do it. It's just, my taste. So we've just finished the shot of the plastic chairs. We've ended up going for a hard light source. So that's 1600 watts there. And then I've angled this one right down, just getting a bit of gradation at the back of the blue. And that's just firing off at 800 watts at the back. But you can see the angle of that softbox. And camera's up here, back to the 90mm lens for this one. A little bit of movement in the bellows just to get everything in focus. And now we're just packing up ready for the next shot. And yes, shot number 3 does not fit the series at all, but this was just playing around, and this is something we're going to do for a new series using plastic food. But furniture and plastic food. The food's not the thing, the food's just the prop in this instance. But yeah, we're just really upping the ante on the textures here. This is my favourite shot of the day, and we're going to have to revisit this because this is definitely something I want more of in my portfolio. And again, I think we kept on the 90mm lens for this one, so back to my usual lens, but we lost the hazy. I went with a nice bit of hard light. You can just see that the amount of time I spend faffing with the camera, that looks like seconds, but it's like 10-15 minutes of just getting the focus nailed in. So the top of the trolley's in focus and the floor is also in focus from the bizarre angle we're shooting in. And yes, I could focus stack it, but good God, doing that from up those ladders, like the camera's going to move, something's going to go wrong. And images look focus stacked. There's a real aesthetic to focus stacking compared to camera movements. And I can't say what it is. I'm not sure what it is, but it is there. And maybe that's something we should look at in a video. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments below if we do a focus stacking versus lens movements to see what's best. Because there's definitely a difference. And I think they're each best in different ways as well. Like in different times you want to choose different things. We do still use focus stacking for certain things because that's the aesthetic we want. But personally, I like the aesthetic for bellows camera. And yeah, this, for those curious, was a 10,000 step day in the studio. I walked 6 kilometers around my tiny little studio. And of course, still making calls, still doing emails, still making treatments whilst doing the test shoot because commercial work continues. There's always something on the go. There's always someone who needs something or wants something. And yeah, you just have to keep on it. So back on the 90mm lens here, coming up and above. And we're coming onto this here. It's just some corrugated, what's this made of? The corrugated felt roofing, sprayed blue. And then we had this one single light, which is a Pulso at 1600 watts with a standard reflector. And I placed it here, but all the way up there. So we got some nice crisp shadows. Not super crisp because it wasn't a massive distance, but we needed the shorter shadows so we couldn't go any further away. So always a compromise, but there we go. Just letting that cool down before I burn my fingers off on it.